thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of advice, tips, and resources. Hello, everyone. I'm Wendy Valla, and with me is Cher Phipps.
Hi there.
And Shah Barrett.
Hi there.
And no Trudy J. Because, again, she's on holiday. Yes, I know.
Life is one big holiday, I tell you.
Child, seriously.
Yeah,
I just can't even.
What even, talk about commitment, right? Anyway.
It's not that we're bitter or jealous.
We can't go on holiday.
I am jealous. I am jealous. I'm so jealous.
No, we wish you all the very best and hope she has a wonderful holiday with her family. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, that's genuine.
So our topic today is the best advice you don't want to listen to. Oh, I hear you say, what is that about? So anyway, sort of where it came about in a roundabout way was I was having a conversation in the weekend with my son. He's played professional rugby for 11 years, and we were just discussing coaches and what coaches he liked and what different advice he's taken and advice he hasn't. And it was just interesting to me that even now, this many years on, he can still get a coach who really will flick a switch within him. But at the same time, he has a lot more self-belief in himself as a player and what he knows and what he should do, because he's learned all this stuff over the years from these amazing people. But one of the things he said to me also, which I sort of resonate a little bit, is that one of his favorite coaches said to him, it's not about me, being molded, etc. I mean, there's a lot of that going on and the way we go forward, etc. But it's about what you as a person, as a player, brings to the table. And the self-belief in yourself that you're good enough to bring that to the table and to follow through with it. And I just thought, it resonated a little bit with me. So I've dragged these guys along with me, whether they want to or not. But I sometimes feel we can take too much advice on. That's where I'm going with this. I feel that sometimes we can derail ourselves by taking too much advice on and not listening to our voice inside our head because we feel that someone else is better at it. If that makes any sense, good luck to that. Yeah. But this is where I'm going with that. Do you guys get that?
I think how I hear that is that all the people telling you that you must do something and you must do it a certain way, they're not necessarily speaking from experience for what you do. Okay, we're all self-publishing authors, but we do it in a different way. We write in a different genre. We have different styles. We have a different voice. And also, where are our readers? Are our readers on, this person's telling you that you must do TikTok. Are your readers on TikTok? Is that going to be a waste of your time? So I think, there's some advice that you definitely must take with the covers and the editing and all that sort of thing. But there's a lot of advice that may not be for you. And I guess that's a big key, isn't it? It's sifting through it.
It's also that desperation inside you to succeed, right? So you're driven to succeed, and all of those people you see succeeding are telling you to do something one way, and you want that, so you follow it.
Absolutely. Or you paid big money for a course, for example, and it feels like you're the only one that it's not working for, as everybody else seems to. It just resonates. So, but it's not necessarily you. It's just sometimes the dynamic between what's been offered and what you, like you say, what you're bringing to the table. It's got to be a really good, mix.
Yeah,
it's got to be a good fit.
I think the first thing probably to establish is, where is that advice coming from?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have a few people that I will run naked around the streets for, because maybe not naked, but you know what I mean. I think that they are genuine. I think they genuinely have other authors' interests at heart, and I believe, due to their success, because they have done what they're telling you to do, that they are worthy of my time and interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that slight caveat that it may not work.
Yeah,
whatever it is. I think if you've made that decision, then you leap into it wholeheartedly and you give it 100%. You give it your very, very best shot before you know if it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you've got to give it, like you say, share the best shot. I mean, yes, we all cherry pick what we want to hear, and often we want to hear confirmation bias, don't we? We want to hear that bit that says, you know what, you don't need to do TikTok or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to do advertising, for example. You don't have to do, you know, a blurb in this kind of way, or, you know, so it's, yeah. If you're going to bag it, do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of authors are magpies insofar as we're bright, shiny object people. I know I am. I'll see someone who's succeeding at something and I'll go, bang, that could get me some more sales, you know, whereas I sometimes think if I just stopped and backed myself and went through my processes and dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's and made sure everything I'm doing is to the best of my ability and done well and done properly, then move on to the next thing if that I need to. But I just sometimes think we just spread ourselves so thin, right?
And I think it's where you are in your career as well. If you're just starting out, then please do not do all the things. Do not even try to do all the things. Do the things that are going to make a difference to you. That, like writing the book, you know, getting the editing, getting the cover, getting all those things aligned. But also maybe tackling one form of advertising, you know, learning it before you even published. You could be doing that. You could be doing one thing. And I think if you do that, because we do have some friends that have done that, which we clearly did not do, but we do have some friends that went down that way and have done remarkably well by slicing off a little bit as they could when time allowed.
But where do they find it, Cher? Where do they find where to advertise? Where do we go, you know?
Well, I know a really great podcast that
do you? What's it called? I'll follow it. I'll listen to it.
But I think trusting people through people you trust, you know, like if you told me to do something, Wendy, then I would certainly give it a try. Yeah. Even though I want to just scratch your eyes out about Facebook. But you know, I tried and
put up with it.
But yeah, I think there are people around that you just know are good at what they do. And again, having said that, it still doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But I don't want to be negative about it. I want you to try the things that may work for you. With everything you've got.
I mean, I think we've always said it, and I think it's human nature to want it, but there isn't a golden bullet, and there isn't the one thing that's going to skyrocket you to the top of the charts and you know, be a 7-figure per month author. There just isn't. Believe me, after 6 years, and literally podcasting every week, we would have discovered it by now, and we would be
and we would not be podcasting
it, and we wouldn't be doing the podcast for free. So you know, it's just there isn't.
So I think
it's human nature, isn't it? But I think, you know, when we're talking about like where does it come from, I think before you even go to that point, you've got to understand. We talked a little bit about this before we came on the podcast about your own strengths and weaknesses. And I think everything starts from there. Know what you're good at and know what you're not so good at, but lean into what you're good at, because that is going to be a path, no matter what it is, far easier than battling yourself on the things that that don't resonate with you so strongly.
But I think
confidence, take a little while.
I think confidence comes from getting things right too. I think you can easily derail yourself if you're doing all these things that really don't sit well with you and not doing the things that do.
It can be demoralizing. And it's really sad. You see writers that are like, I don't want to write again. It's taken the joy out of it. And I mean, for the majority of us, we start doing this because we're readers and we love story and we want to, you know, create our own stories in our own worlds and share them. You know, and I think when you're doing things that take that love away and that joy away from that, that's not a good thing. You know,
so I think who is giving you that advice, and the reason I say this is because when I was talking to my son about it, I said, what happens when you've got a coach that doesn't work? And he was like, it just derails everything. And he said, because you lose focus, you lose belief in the team environment, you know, he said, it's just really hard when you've got someone telling you something in your head, you're thinking, that's crap, that's not going to work. Why, what are you talking, you know, like you have to it's that self-belief that makes you better and makes you stronger.
And
makes
maybe
you cohesive.
open-mindedness as well.
Yeah,
something that you'd really fight against doing, because maybe you're not a business person, and so advertising is just so alien. It's something you never thought you'd do. You hate every aspect of it, and yet you're an intelligent person. You know that for your books to sell, you actually do have to advertise. So you have to source what will work for you the best,
and who will teach it to you,
you. Yes, because even doing, say, an Amazon course with the person that everybody's talking about, you may be able to learn just as easily from somebody selling a cheaper course with not as many followers, but still they're doing extremely well. Why can't they be better at teaching you because you hear it in a different way?
And also some people just, we're not saying buy all the courses either, because I tell you what, for $5 there are some awesome books out there, like on, for example, Amazon ads, that really a course at the end of the day it saves you time from searching out the research kind of thing, and it probably will convey it, and it conveys it a different way. But I personally learn better from books than I do from watching something, and because I like to be able to sit there and refer to things. And honestly, you don't need to spend all the thousands of dollars. You've got this podcast, you've got other podcasts there's so much free out there. Don't get caught into, I think this is another trap. The best advice that you don't want to listen to is that you need to spend a huge amount of money on courses, because you don't. And let's face it, when we were starting this, 2013, 2014, there weren't all the courses around then. Everybody just figured it out. There was the chap that did formatting, remember, before, before Vellum ever existed.
When you and I went down that road, didn't we?
There's some, bless them, a lovely author put something on YouTube on how to format with Juto, and everybody sat there and watched this video,
exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So I think it's also really important at this stage to sort of work out, what do you do when you're overwhelmed if you're trying all these things and it's not working. I think getting back to basics is a real important thing here, and by that I mean writing the book, making sure your author central page is correct on Amazon, making sure your Facebook page is A1, making sure your website is A1, start building that email newsletter. These are all things that will establish you out there, because if people come searching for you and what they find is a half-assed website or a half-assed this or that, am I allowed to say ass? I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, they're going to go, that's not right. Are your books selling? Are the blurbs not good enough? Are the covers not good enough? There are so many things you can do even before you start looking into, advertising and all the others. We're not saying don't advertise, because we firm believers you have to, but there are so many things you need to get right
before you advertise, otherwise you're just throwing money away.
Or you're throwing money at the wall.
And I think I've also seen this too. I think a lot of authors, when they're really keen for success, they skip that step, Wendy. They're like, I've got this, and it is a product. I've got this book, I've got this product, and they want to get straight into the hammering it. And I see, and when I inevitably see them in writers' forums saying, my Facebook ads aren't working, I'm not getting any clicks on Amazon. And you go to the basics, which is you look at their book, you look at their title, you look at their cover, and it's just not up to scratch, and my heart breaks for them, because it's really hard to hear that, really hard to hear that.
What you thought was great.
But so that's also something that people need to get on board with, accepting criticism if it's justified, and none of us like criticism. I hate criticism. Oh my gosh,
that's
I
actually
really
a good piece of advice
but
to start developing a thicker skin.
If someone who you respect and who knows what they're talking about, who is selling books, said to you, your covers are crap or your blues are crap or whatever, then you have to listen to them. Because chances, you don't have to listen to them, but you take what they're saying on board.
Yeah,
because
give it a go. Try it on. Try it on, as Cheryl says. Give it a go. Try it on.
Because if they're coming from a place where they're doing amazingly well, why? Well, they want to sabotage you. Is where I'm getting at. So the advice you take from someone, make sure it's from someone you respect.
Yeah. I mean, I think the general rule should be, if you're asking for advice in a writer's forum of authors or professional authors, then you should at least be open-minded to listen to it. You don't have to take it, but be polite in listening to it. And arguing against it,
no, don't argue.
First of all, it makes you look like a doofus, and second of all, it stops people. Like, I've stopped offering advice, not that I had pearls of wisdom all the time, but a lot of people have got burned over the years because you just get quite a negative reaction. And why set yourself up for that? You're offering something for free, so why do that? So if you're in there asking for help, even if you don't like it, just say thank you for your time, because somebody's taken the time to write out some advice for you. So I think
you can ignore it. You can absolutely ignore it.
Nobody's gonna the forum police aren't going to be making sure that you've done it.
No,
but arguing against it, if you have to argue against something, generally something wrong with your pal.
Especially if it's just advice, like all the buts in the world don't change it, do they?
No, totally. But you will get conflicting advice too, and that's something, isn't it, that like how do people filter out what, because we've had this comment a few times, on one podcast we've had a guest saying something, on the other we've had them maybe not necessarily saying something contrary, but just an alternative suggestion or whatever. And I think there is no right way, and that's our goal here, is to give you a smorgasbord of experts and information and advice, and then, as we said before, go back to what resonates with you and what your strengths are.
And I think there's also there's so many factors at play too with self-publishing, and by that I mean genre, length of book. There's just it's just not a one shoe fits all. It's not like just walking into McDonald's and asking for a Big Mac, you get a Big Mac, right? But with books, with the self-publishing industry, I think there is just so many variables involved.
And sometimes it's just a perfect storm, isn't it? How somebody got their book to take off the way it did.
Yeah.
And we could think of some huge examples right here, right now.
Yeah.
But, it's being in the right place at the right time. Whatever they did to get themselves there, and probably did some really hard work as well, it was just that. It was not just that, but it was that more than anything else.
But also the basics, right?
Yeah, but
exactly.
But breaking it down, sort of reverse engineering how they got there is good, and it's something that you can get into, but it might not necessarily give you the whole story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't necessarily tell you everything.
No, and I think also one thing coming into this game, if you think it's going to be easy, it's not. It is really hard work. I mean, and it's rewarding, but if you're doing it right, it is hard work. And by that I mean, have you got your 10 categories on Amazon? Have you emailed them? Are your blurbs tight? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you got your list ticked off? Because every single book you put up needs to have the same love as the very first book you put up. And there are no corners to cut, because people will see that, and that's what I think, get those basics 100% right. All the things that you have within your control, get right.
I agree. And also it's all free. It's time, but it's all free, Yeah,
absolutely.
I was reading something from somebody who does really, really well the other day, and they were saying that their first book wasn't selling a lot, so that after a little while they put it up for free, and they sold like thousands. They gave away thousands and thousands of copies until it clicked in that in actual fact that wasn't going to make them any money, because that was the only book they had. People were buying this book free. He didn't even have a sign-up list in the back of the book. He didn't have another book for them to go to. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think about when you're thinking of advertising or promotions, different promotions with different companies, is what is your aim from that? And for somebody who's doing so well now to admit that they did that right at the beginning, it just shows that we all have so much to learn, and
absolutely,
and it is going to take time.
And good for them for actually admitting that, because
absolutely.
you know, I would say that there's not an author out there that hasn't got a similar learning experience, shall we say, early on. You know, everybody's stumbled or fumbled or done something. I mean, goodness knows, you know, getting links right for newsletters. I mean, how many of us have, I mean, we've all done that. Everybody sent out a newsletter and not put the links in right. Like this.
Yeah.
I got a good one
happens.
for you. I've got 2 pre-orders up at the moment, and I put one out the other day with the first title of the book and the second title of the other book. So
nice.
It was no one knew who that book was. You know, luckily they clicked on
how
the
many
link.
books are you down now, Wendy? How many books are
I think I
40
just
something?
sent my 46 off to the editor,
so there
45th
you go.
something. You know, and I just didn't see it. And my daughter who came emailed me and said, that looks like a really interesting book. Is it one of yours?
It's crazy. It is crazy what you don't see. You know, right from the beginning and even till now, you know, we all make mistakes, and some of them you have to laugh at. You really have to laugh at.
You got to laugh, and you got to talk to people that will get it. And it's not going to make or break your career. Like it's just.
And the right piece of advice is going to be gold, and will sometimes put you on the track you want to be on.
So give us an example of something for you, some real world advice that's worked for you. For you both.
I switched genres. Because,
it's a big one.
I knew of some people that were doing quite well in there, and it appealed to me.
What made you do that, Cher?
Well, because my romance wasn't selling, and you know, I wanted to make this a full-time career, and I wasn't doing that with romance. So
and do you think that the reason the romance wasn't selling was because your voice was not right in romance, or that you were
I think I was just a little tiny fish in such a big pool, and I didn't have anything that was different. What I was writing was the same. I wouldn't say it was exactly Mills and Boon. It was kind of like a cross between a sweet romance and sort of like an angsty romantic suspense, and so that suspense is what lent it to Cozy Mysteries, because I do like that, you know.
And see, and that's a great thing about using your strengths and leaning into your strengths. You've got that mystery element was already there. So that clue was already in there, and that you enjoy it. You know, it's like, that's a, perfect example.
And I knew I could never write horror. I could never write anything more graphic than a cozy mystery, because I'd never sleep ever again. So I just, you know, it just seemed like a perfect fit, and actually it is.
And you really enjoy writing.
I do. I have a lot of fun with it.
I think for me, a couple of things actually. The first was Shah telling me to write all my historicals, write some historicals before I went to contemporary.
I think she said you can't.
Yeah, no, she did, but I was being nice to her. But, I mean, even now, I've probably diluted my brand a bit too thin, but I'm quite happy doing that. The contemporaries don't sell as well, but I'm building those wide.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So you're now rebranding those, and this is many years down the track.
And I just changed the name. I'm now a different author name for my contemporaries. I'm Lani Blake, and now those contemporaries are wide, and I'm starting again as a new author, and that's fine, because the historicals are my main bread and butter.
Yeah.
I think also taking the piece of advice, I'm not sure who told me, this might have been Shara again, I'm not sure, to write series. Because series,
and to be fair, everybody was telling us that, right? From you know, some of the first named authors that were talking in the self-publishing sphere that had come from traditional were like Courtney Milan, Bella Andre, and they were talking series right at the start, as was Marie Force, as was oh gosh, there was another name, Melody Ann, and these were in the real, you know, just when self-publishing was starting to become, you know, it was still the black sheep of the romance family at that point, but there was still enough people, and I just remember hearing those 2014 2013 RWA conference recordings, and they were talking series.
The thing about series, you know, if you get it right, you know, you'll and your read through is good, you know, you can really, like I just edited book 10, is being edited in one of my series now, and that is my most popular series. And
so why wouldn't you keep it up?
Exactly, so you can put that up for pre-order and end up with a lot of pre-orders.
Do you remember somebody saying, oh, I'm so sick of a series, I'm not going to write after 6, just saying.
I remember Bella Andre saying, why would you get bored with it?
Yeah.
I don't understand how you get bored with it.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you write the series too, I'll be honest. I think some people don't write the series with all the cast coming through the books, whereas I bring all the cast with me through the books. So by book 10, there's a fairly busy dinner table, I'm telling you. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a learning curve for me. And then Facebook advertising probably is the second, the third real big. But I think also going back, and I tend to be a skimper. I'm not someone who will really buckle down and do everything 100% well. So what I mean is I'll chuck a book up and then that baby's up there, it can stand on its own type thing, instead of going back and checking the blurbs and checking the covers and checking this and checking that. So since I've been doing all of that, that has made a difference, you know, making sure that all the spaces that on Author Central that need reviews in them are set up, you know, making sure my bio is up to date, making sure those things, and email newsletters, another thing, you know, those sort of things now I'm doing right, and that's making the difference.
Because even though you might feel it's taking you away from writing to do all those things, it's actually the whole picture. You need to have the whole picture and all the pieces of the puzzle fit in just right. Yeah.
And we're not kidding. That's time consuming. That. And it's not always the most funsy stuff either. It's not necessarily like you super creative, you know. A lot of it is box, you know, what is it, eye dotting and box ticking or whatever the saying is. And that's you know, can be a little bit of a drag.
Well, it is, and you know, it's the, like, if I'm going back to the rugby analogy, it's the training, isn't it? It's the, you know, like I talked to my son who's now early 30s or 31, and he's exhausted, but to keep himself going, he trains, and he trains hard, and he does weight training, and he does this and he does that, and it's all the stuff that he does in the background that we see on the TV on a Saturday or a Sunday. And it's the same for us. When someone picks up our book, that result, you know, we've done a lot of work for them to get to that stage and find it. They might have found it through an email newsletter or for an ad or reading a blurb or whatever, but it's that background work that bears the fruit, you know.
And I think not looking at it as such an onerous task, you know, like, oh, I've really got to work. You know, like if you keep looking down on that stuff, like it's just beneath you or it's a waste of your time or whatever, that's how it's always going to feel. And you're going to have that pressure sitting, you know, it's like when you know you need to clean a part of your house and you haven't touched it and it's just sitting there. Once you've done it, how good do you feel? Really, to get it out of the way.
Do you actually clean your house? Nice work.
So good. I mean, we could go off on a giant tangent here about feng shui and about clutter and how it was, you know, like clutter, external clutter often mirrors your own internal mind kind of clutter, which is so true. But books are no different. Like it is, like you say, Wendy, it's like, I mean, there's a sporting analogy for me as a gardener. It's the gardening analogy. It's not enough to just put the plant in or sow the seeds. You've still got to tend it. And with books, you still got to tend them. And I think that gets forgotten. So one of the questions we do get is how do you know who to listen to? So what would your advice be on that one?
Wow. Okay. I mean, we've met a lot pretty outstanding people now, right? And some really successful authors. But I find for me, it's someone who resonates. So it's someone who I feel is genuine. And I go a lot by that, a lot by feel. When we've interviewed them, I'm like, oh yeah, I like her, she does great, or I like him, he does great.
You have a rapport, don't you?
Yeah, so there's a connection, isn't there? So for me, it's about that. But for you people who haven't met all these people, it's about reading what they're telling you and thinking and feeling like that's you. And do you understand it? And do you get it? And I think to just rush into something because everyone else is not the right way to go.
And I mean, that's the beauty of social media, isn't it? You can still get it. You might not be able to meet them at a conference. I mean, we're in New Zealand, so we can't actually access, you know, the US conferences or UK conferences easily at the moment at all. But
No, we're not
you
better
do
about
get a
that, though.
feel, don't you, from social media as well. If they've got like a writers group or something like that, you can still get a feel for how they are.
I don't respond well to people that throw out advice in a very airy fairy way, you know, like it doesn't, you don't really know, you know, it sounds great, it sounds fantastic, and they're so excited about it, and you know, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. But when you come away from there, you're like, well, what did they mean, or how am I supposed to do that? That's not advice that I wouldn't spend a lot of time or money on trying to get to the bottom of that. I really wouldn't.
But you're a numbers girl, and you're a facts girl, and you always have been. And I think
I like black and white.
And that's why you probably learn a little bit different from me. Like I would be more than happy just to go to YouTube and listen to someone not detailing something, but giving me a broad overview. Whereas you like to be detailed. So does Shah. Trudy's the same.
I would say for me, in terms of who to listen to, it's more who not to listen to. And that's the person that tells you that they're the only way. Be wary of people that say that they've got all the secrets, they've got the keys to the kingdom, I should say. They're the only ones with this type of advice. You know, be very wary of that, because that inevitably is not true.
And most people who are worth listening to will acknowledge that there are others out there who have
absolutely, like as soon as you hear the word, you know, and we've heard it with Alana Johnson, we've heard it with Alana Terry, we've heard it with Mark Dawson. They all say, like, you know, this is how I do this. This is, you know, but other people do it. Like pretty much everybody with integrity says that, you know. So listen out, though. That's what I would say. If you're new to this game, listen out for the ones that say that they have the secrets and they have the exclusive gold, as it were, because it's not true. They don't. It's a be
wary of spending a lot of money.
And I think get advice from others.
Research.
Be very wary, and like I said right at the start, you do not need to. I would not be spending money on courses before over the top of maybe spending it on a good cover, or you know, good edits, or getting help with your product comes before the other stuff.
Sorry, you go, Cher.
I was just going to say one thing that you mentioned before about learning on YouTube. That is such a great resource. I kid you not. We all use it. We all use it
all the time. It's fantastic. I use it for Regency stuff too. I'll go in there and I'll, you know, Lucy Worsley, who's an amazing Regency, and I'm like, she tells me more, because I don't like reading about stuff. If I'm going to read, I'm going to read fiction. So for me to get someone to be able to just go in and tell me that is a great thing, you know. And that's why I think YouTube is great.
It's a wealth, and it's everything. It's everything from how to set up an Amazon ad to, like, it's everything is there. You know, use it as a search engine, and it's all there for you for free. And you'll see other people's comments and things like that on it. And it's wonderful resource.
I think also at the moment we need to be really mindful of the fact that things are pretty tough out there, and we're spending a lot of time online. So we're seeing a lot more. I think we're exposed to a lot more of people that are doing well, and offering us courses and offering us advice, and maybe our mindset is like, oh well, you know, maybe I'll buy that.
I can't do it all.
You know. So I think
I get that.
And actually, conversely, there's also the people out there touting doom and gloom. You know, like, you know, sales are down here, blah blah blah. But for everybody that says sales are down, and it may be true, there are certain times of the year that aren't as good in different countries as other times. But you will still find other people doing fine. So, you know.
And I think it's a tendency for people to talk about the negative as well. You know, it's just human nature, isn't it? We read what is it? Bad news sells newspapers kind of thing. So it just, there's that kind of, it can be a little bit of an echo chamber in some writers forums and things as well. So just, you know, I think if you're going online and feeling, just again, go back to knowing yourself. And if you're going online and reading some things or participating in some forums and you come away feeling negative or kind of hopeless or, you know, just put off, then you know what? Seriously, that's not the you
That's
need
not
to
your place.
no.
Go back to what you know, go back to what you love, do your basics right. Don't bury your head in the sand. Don't be an ostrich. I mean, that's not going to make your career improve, because we've all had those days.
Of course we have.
But I think it's really important to just see people for what they are and take the things you think are going to help you.
And one of the things I think that we don't listen to enough, and that is our gut instinct.
Yeah.
We've got to listen to that gut instinct. How many times all of us have done that, where you've kind of talked to somebody, or you've done something, or you've bought something, or whatever, and you're like, yeah, you know, and you kind of talk yourself into it, but actually it was your gut instinct. Rely on that. Always rely on your intuition.
Yeah, and I think we're coming up for half an hour, so we don't have to ramble on like we normally do, I guess. But what I would like to leave you guys with is something along the lines of, what do you like? What my son said, what do you bring to the table? What are your strengths? What is it you love? What are your passions? And understand those and acknowledge those and do those really well.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that in the long run are important and will get you where you want to go, and then take very small steps about learning the stuff that scares you.
Absolutely.
Stuff, you know,
and they're going to differentiate you from other authors, you know, your strengths. So lean into what you do really well in writing and in the business stuff.
And find the people that speak your language. That it's easy for you to understand, it's easy for you to hear, it's more acceptable or palatable, because they're just your kind of people, and that takes a bit of weeding out, to be fair, but you will find them.
And be genuine. I think genuine. And on the weeding out thing, I just wanted to say I've grown a vegetable garden for the very first time, and peas from scratch. My seeds are now growing.
Nice.
How about that? I'm going to put a photo of that up on the Spa Girls
page
so you can all see it. I'm pretty proud of it.
There you go. Oh, I think if we were onto it, we would have some kind of analogy about, like, you know, it's never too late to try new things.
Yeah, but you know what? We've never been onto it, so I doubt we're going to start now.
No.
Positivity.
Yeah. No, so you guys, I hope this was worth a listen, helpful. We're very aware of what's going on in the world out there and how tough it is, but I still firmly believe there is no better time to be a self-published author.
Absolutely agree.
The world is your oyster out there. There is so much wonderful information, and we just hope that you find the right stuff for you. So on that note, where can we be found, Sha?
Well, we have a wealth of information at spargirlspodcast.com, and we are building our little we were late to the game on YouTube. We've only just started YouTube a year ago, so it's never too late to try new things, and we're really appreciative of everybody that subscribes and watches and clicks the like button on there, because that gets us into more people's recommendations, so we really appreciate it.
And it's made us get dressed too, because like we weren't before. We're just sitting in our pajamas. I was going with the pajamas thing. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Where can we be found? At spargirlspodcast.com. Okay, everyone, you guys have a really great week.
Keep well.
Stay safe. Bye.